to the latest edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime with me, Marchant, Kenney. Well, you can see the set has changed in the back. That's because the prior set was in our living room, and my wife and I kind of decided we want our living room back fully and not a ton of Southern Miss football memorabilia laying around. So here we are back in the trophy room, and this will be a more permanent setup, and hopefully you'll like this backdrop that we do have right here. Well, Angela and I, my wife, we were in Hattiesburg all weekend for the Southern Miss Super Regional against Tennessee, and it wasn't the outcome that we wanted, but nothing to be ashamed of with the performance that Southern Miss has put on through the years and become a national powerhouse. And with that said, I do want to send a huge thank you to our leader, Scott Berry, who coached his last game in Hattiesburg over the weekend. And I mean, you have just been an incredible leader of young men and just second to none when it comes to just a fantastic human being. And you're my great friend, Coach Berry, and just thank you for all you've done. I know I speak for a lot of people right there too. Well, fan comments have been a big portion of this show. And this week for fan comments, I asked you to send in questions for our interviewee today, who was Athletic Director Jeremy McClain, and I filtered as many questions into the interview as I could. I apologize if I missed some, but I got to as many as I can and hit on a lot of hot topics for Southern Miss that the Southern Miss Nation was looking forward to get some answers from. So with all that said, I'm pretty fired up to catch up with our leader in athletics, Jeremy McClain. Well, inside and outside the Southern Miss world, I hear nonstop. The athletic director is doing a great job, and I'll tell you what, I don't argue with him ever. And I'm so honored to have our AD on today, Jeremy McClain. And Jeremy, how is the world treating you, man?
Oh man, it's great. It's it's a great day to be a Golden Eagle, right? As it always is. And good times for us, man. It's been a fun year, and year one in the Sun Belt for us has been everything we could have imagined, and then some. I think, and I think our fan base would agree with that. So we're really excited about what's happening. Maybe even more excited about where we're headed.
Oh, there you go. Great way to put it, man. And unfortunately, we got some sad news recently. The legendary baseball coach Scott Berry decided to call it a day. But in some interesting good news for you personally, his successor is Christian Ostrander. So a great baseball coach for the future for us, no doubt. But an interesting dynamic there. You two are teammates at Delta State playing baseball together, man. So how's that synergy going to be working with an old teammate of yours as the head baseball coach?
Yeah, definitely. To go back to your original point there, Scott making a decision to retire. We're going to miss him, certainly. And but I'm thrilled for him that we've, on a couple fronts. Number one, that he's got an opportunity to do this the way he wants to do it. And that was kind of the discussion he and I had, at the end of last summer. And I tell you, that's a hard secret to keep for 8 months. But he did a good job of it, and I did too. And I wanted to honor the way he wanted to do it. But I'm excited he's getting a chance to step away, at the time he wants to. And I'm excited that we've had an opportunity as a baseball program to take him deep into the postseason. And one of the reasons. I think Scott felt like it was the right time. One of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons, is that he felt like the right person was on his staff to take over the program. And that was a conversation we had a lot. And so unique situation, obviously, that Christian and I played together and know each other well, probably made it easier for me from a standpoint of I didn't have to do a lot of background work. He and I have known each other for 20 plus years, or 25 years, I guess, or more. And so that was an easy process. I guess the easiest hire I probably ever made. Christian is the thing about Coach Oss that people will begin to understand is although he and Scott have very different personalities, they're kind of founded in the same things, and that is integrity, trying to do things the right way, trying to treat people the right way. And competitiveness to be successful, and taking a great pride in what they do. And so we're excited about that. I'm excited for us. He's worked really hard, to get to this point. A funny story in this whole, whole situation that, you just never know. And athletics is a small world, but Os called me in 2017. I remember where I was. I was at my son's some travel baseball tournament on a weekend, I think during the summer. And of course, I was the AD at Troy at the time, and he called me and just said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. I got a big decision to make." He at the time was the pitching coach at Louisiana Tech, and he said, "I've got an opportunity to go back to Mississippi and go to Southern Miss, and I'm just trying to work through it with my family. I've only been at Louisiana Tech for 18 months. You know, it's a big deal." And I just said, "Hey, man, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'll give you all the pros and cons, but I know you're working for a really good guy right now, but there are none better than Scott Berry. And so, you know, whatever decision you make, just understand that you're never going to regret working for Scott. He's one of the best guys I know, and you know, it's a chance. There's a chance there at Southern Miss for that to be really special, even more so than it already is. And so, so interesting kind of you know, tidbit. Neither one of us knew how this thing would play out, but in 2017 we had a conversation about him making a decision to come back to Southern Miss, and it's worked out great for all of us. And so really excited about you know, the direction of the program.
No, man, what an awesome story. Great way to put it from top to bottom. I mean, people respect and admire the job Coach Oz has done, and I'm sure we won't miss much of a beat with Coach Berry ending that tenure right there. But kind of getting into that Delta State baseball stuff, man. I mean, if anybody doesn't know, I know the word's out there, but you were one heck of a baseball player, man, at Delta State. From 96 to 99, you were All-American, 3-time All-Conference performer. As a senior, you were 15-0 as a starter, man. I mean, talk about your time as a baseball player at Delta State.
You know, Coach Ostrander was my pitching coach that last season, so he may try to take credit for that. I don't know. No, it was a great experience. Man, I was really fortunate. You know, I grew up in a small town, small high school, didn't get a lot of exposure from a recruiting standpoint. You know, it was before internet recruiting and all those things. You and I, we had to just somebody had to find us. And so I was very fortunate that Delta State found me, and you know, had an opportunity to go there and play. It was a perfect program for me. It was and I say this a lot, there's a ton of similarities between Delta State and Southern Miss, and I think it's one of the reasons I've always felt at home here at Southern Miss. Even though I'm not a graduate, it's always felt like home to me. You know, it's a blue collar place. It's a place where you got to be willing to work, and you know, people don't flinch about whether they have more than the guy they're competing with. They just go to work, and so it was that kind of place, and was perfect for me. You know, really grew a lot, and I was never told this many times. I think it's accurate. I was never the most talented guy on the field, but I was probably one of the most determined, and I think that's what really allowed me to be successful. Played on some great teams, had a bunch of great teammates, and just tried to kind of squeeze every ounce of talent I could get out of myself, and I had a great group of coaches that helped me do that. So it was a wonderful experience. Really kind of, and again, I think you can relate to this, Marchant. It really set me up, gave me a great foundation for everything else that's come later in my life, and I don't take that for granted at all.
Man, that's a great way to put it. And I've seen a lot of interviews, people talking about you know, higher ups or what have you in the community, that, you know, he's a Southern Miss guy. Jeremy is. He may not have gone there, but he's just got this hard work attitude, this grit mentality, and you know, he's just a perfect guy for the job. So that's a great way to put that. And wind up getting your degree from there, getting your MBA from Delta State. But man, you're a good baseball player. Let's not undermine that, man. And you go play some pro baseball too. How was that time trying to make it in the bigs?
Yeah, you know, it was. You know, minor league baseball is not glamorous, but you know, it was a dream, right, man? It was since I was, you know, I can remember, you know, going around the classroom when you're in second grade, and hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer never changed, right? I didn't say athletic director. I said I wanted to be a professional baseball player, and so I was laser focused on that, and so I got to live that dream for about 5 years. You know, minor league baseball is hard, and you know, had some success, and just, you know, there's a lot of guys chasing that dream. And so it got to a point in year 5, kind of going into that last year, I knew it was going to be my last year. Got married, and had a chance to kind of make a decision before the season that I was going to hang him up at the end. So that was really, you know, which was fun, because we've actually won a championship that year. So I got to kind of walk off the mound for the last time as a champion. And so I don't ever take that for granted either. So it was a wonderful experience. some lessons to be learned there too, probably in minor league baseball is in the fact that it's not always glamorous. There's a lot of tough days that go into that, and it's not always easy. And so I think that was, again, really valuable for me to chase that dream and to get to a place where, I was able to check that box.
Yeah, you did. And like I said, heck of a baseball career for you right there. And I want to ask you something too, man. I'm an old football guy, but one thing I love about baseball are superstitions. There's not a more superstitious sport I've ever seen, if you ask me. We got a cat out in outfield, so they make a rally cat because we started doing well. Rally paddle, last year, just because a paddle was being spun, we scored some runs. Did you have any superstitions as a player personally that you did while you were playing?
Well, yes, I did, and they haven't necessarily gone away. So I would eat the same thing before every start. I was a starting pitcher, so every fourth or fifth day, I would same meal, same routine. I was very warm up the same way. All those things. I just wanted. And there's a comfort level that comes as an athlete that comes with that, right? You kind of want to be on autopilot, and you want to be, in a situation where you're really just kind of locked in on what's in front of you. And so yeah, it was superstition / routine for me. But yeah, there were a lot of those things that I did, and they haven't ended, right? And so I have to tell this. We and during the Auburn Regional, we I ate lunch beginning on Saturday after we won the first game, lost the first game, but won on Saturday. I ate the same thing for lunch every day from there on out, and I may or may not have found a washing machine at the hotel and wore the same clothes on Sunday as I did on Saturday. So, you can't take the baseball player out of the AD in that regard. So, yeah, man, you got to do what you got to do.
Man, that's awesome. It's just one of the most beautiful sports. That's why, baseball makes such great movies, because of superstitions. Because if the characters in it, pitchers, y'all are your unique cats, man.
Yeah.
Y'all just are.
We're the worst. Yeah.
If it works, you know what? Indirectly, you got us out that Auburn Regional. Good
There
job.
You go, man. Look, I feel like I did my part.
You did your part, man. Awesome. And but kind of getting into your career now, where you're at, what you're doing right now, and a beautiful thing happened to you at a young age. So with baseball, man, you get an opportunity for your first big gig as athletic director to be the AD at Delta State, your alma mater. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. It's an interesting story. That happened when I was 30 years old. So I was really young and really had only been out of baseball. I had retired from baseball 3 years prior to that and had been in the corporate world, and it started actually come back to Delta State to help raise money for the university. And the AD job opened a little quicker than I think everybody anticipated. Brad Teague, who's now was also a former player at Delta State. He's now the AD at Central Arkansas. Left to take that Central Arkansas job, and so the job came open. I was young and probably not prepared for it. But I tell our student athletes this all the time: you never know who's watching, and so the people in that community who had seen me as an athlete from a leadership standpoint, just in the community, there were people who really believed in me, and although they knew I wasn't as experienced as maybe some other candidates, they had a lot of faith in me and my ability to get the job done. So I got the job at the age of 30, and really had a steep learning curve the first year or so. I was very fortunate to have some really, really good coaches, to work with and help me, get through that first year or so, and then really kind of fell into my groove and stayed there for 6 years. Man, we had a great run. We competed for a national championship in football. We competed for a national championship in baseball. Women's basketball went to I think 2 Final Fours while we were there, and so we just had this great run of, and again, great coaches, great support in the community. And so it was a fantastic way for me to really start my career. And, especially at your alma mater, you only get one opportunity to do that. And so it was really, really special.
Yeah, man, that had to be special. I've said it so many times. It makes sense for you to get a job at such a young age like that. I'm like, man, Jeremy looks the party, talks the party, walks the party. I mean, he's everything you want in AD. So it made sense even at 30 years old to be the AD of a university. So congratulations on that. But you had a chance to step up, man, in 2012 and head to Southern Miss. as the deputy director of athletics right there. How was that getting that opportunity in October 2012 to head over to Southern Miss?
Yeah, and that was so. It was number one. It was tough. It's tough to leave your alma mater, but the competitor in me wanted to see if I could do it at the Division I level. That was really what drove some of that. Honestly, we moved my family, left my alma mater, took a pay cut, all these things, but it was, kind of go back to chasing the dream. I had a goal in mind and I wanted to get there. And Southern Miss afforded me that opportunity. It was funny, the connection, there wasn't a ton of connection, but the connection was Dr. Aubrey Lucas, who was the interim president at the time. Of course, he had been at Delta State, and we had a lot of mutual friends. I'd met him a few times, and so I reached out to him and told him I was going to apply for the job. General Jeff Hammond was the AD at the time, and so I think he saw me as maybe a resource for someone who had been doing it and would be a good fit. And so I'm really thankful to him for giving me the opportunity. And I had we'd had a great run in football. I had just hired Jamie Chadwell as the football coach there at Delta State, and so I had to go tell him I was leaving before he really even got going with his first football season. So I said yes to the job in August, and told him to give me a little time to close things out the right way at Delta State, and I would start on October 1st, which is what I did. The unique thing about that, and this is. Everybody knows this 2012 football season. So I said yes in August. The team was coming off of a conference championship and a 12-win year and just an unbelievable run. And by the time I got here on October 1st, football season was not going in a very good direction. And so I kind of walked into a situation that wasn't a lot of fun. And so I jumped into the fire, so to speak. When I transitioned from Delta State to Southern Miss, for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, Jeremy, we can laugh about it now, but I mean, you're starting your job at Southern Miss's proud football program. All of a sudden, things aren't happening nearly according to plan. And if you don't mind me asking, I mean, people say the coach, the this, the that. I mean, if you mind me asking, what do you think happened in that football season on just how things fell apart, man?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I got here in October, so I didn't get to see spring ball. I didn't get to see the beginning of the season, but I don't think it's one thing, but you could tell pretty quickly that we weren't in a good place. There was some friction there, fraction, just from a player mentality standpoint and environment. Whatever had happened along the way had created some rub in some ways, and so there were some things that happened. I think they were outside of people's control. I think some coaches had to move to different positions unexpectedly, kind of right before the season started. And so I think it was various things that happened. I just think it was pretty obvious that it really just the environment wasn't what you want to create success. And I think you saw that, unfortunately, with the results on the field.
Yeah, I mean, things obviously didn't go according to plan there. But one of the most impressive things that I've seen with your resume, man, is even after all that, under your direction with revenue, I mean, we set records for funding and getting money back into the program despite what had happened, man. So, I mean, kudos to you.
I appreciate that. We had a lot of people working really hard during that time. And I think it was that next year when we set the fundraising record. Part of that was we went to work, December 1st on searching for a new head coach and brought in Todd Morgan, who, Todd, I think, was the right guy at the right time and really created some excitement about where we were headed. It took some time to get it back to where we wanted to be, but he created some excitement. We were able to kind of capitalize on that moving into that next season and begin to move the needle. And it was a fight. But at the same time, we had a lot of people working really hard. And, in Southern Miss, what I realized is that, our fan base is passionate. Our folks are passionate about what's happening. So I realized that really quickly, which is great. And I think you can use that in a really good way. And I think our folks jumped in trying to help us get back on track and get to where we want to be, which is, a successful football program, a successful athletic department, and a successful university. And so, yeah, credit to our people for jumping in there and staying with us.
Yeah, Jeremy, I said about you, which is easy to say, you walk the part, you talk the part, you look the part. You brought up Todd Morgan right there. I mean, he walked into the fire right there, getting that thing back. But all along the process while he was doing it, you just felt this is the guy. You really did. And looking back, he wound up being the guy, turned it back around. How was that just a little bit more working with Todd Morgan?
Yeah, it was great, man. And we during that interview process, we had a lot of really good candidates, man. And I think it said a lot about Southern Miss. You're coming off an 0-12 season. But the candidates we were sitting in the room with talking to are like, wow, this is a really good group. This is going to be a difficult decision. But I just felt strongly that we needed someone at that time. It was going to be a heavy lift, and we all knew that. And we needed someone who was going to be tough enough to handle it. And I think Todd was that guy. And so, Todd, he and I developed a great relationship. He was great to work with, man. He was, he loved football and loves football, but as a head coach, he like head coaches do, that he would spend every minute working on game planning and X's and O's if he could. And so his learning curve was learning to do the other stuff, and he did a great job of jumping in. He would joke with me about things we needed to do externally and go visit with people and talk to groups, and he would give me a hard time about it when I would pop into his office about some of that. He would say, "Hey, Jeremy, are you asking me or are you telling me I need to do this?" And so it was kind of a running joke with us. But he was great, man. As you know, he would go talk and visit with people, and he was the right guy at the right time for us, and got us back going in the right direction. And so when I see his success now, man, I'm really proud for him that he's had a chance to be really successful at a very, very high level, win national championships, obviously. I feel like we'll always owe a lot to Todd.
No, absolutely. Great way to put it. And you and him are getting this thing back in football wise back together. And one thing, like in a business world, when you look at a resume and you're talking about a candidate, like what have you done obstacle wise, overcome to make success? Well, you just did it, and you did it so well that Troy takes notice of this Jeremy McClain guy. Like, we got to get him on his AD quick, or else somebody's going to snatch him up. So you get an opportunity to go to Troy after you run right there at Southern Miss and be the athletic director there at the D1 program. How was that for you, being the guy at a big program?
Yeah, it was great. Now let me back up on the I spent 3 years as a deputy AD at Southern Miss, and when I left, it was right before the 2015 season, when I knew we were going to, as we were kind of focusing on football here. I knew that we were going to be really good, so it was kind of hard to walk away, but it was fun to watch. End up winning 9 games that year. But I joke that those 3 years, as we've talked about, were challenging, and so I felt like I got about a decade's worth of experience in a 3-year time period. So I think it helped prepare me for the next opportunity. Troy was great, and it's, for me, my career path has been, and I say this all the time, don't shy away from this. I really believe in God's plan for me and for us. And so my path has really been one that has allowed me to be in places where I really fit. And so Troy was very similar in that regard, in that it's not that different than Delta State or where I grew up, or Southern Miss. Just a lot of similarities. It's a smaller community, but just a campus that there's traditional values there. There's a closeness, and so those are all things that fit me and my family. So really easy transition. We had, again, some challenges there. We had a bit of a heavy lift going in, kind of rebuild the football program. Neil Brown had been hired as the head coach, and so I knew Neil, was excited about that. And his first year of the rebuild, I think we won 3 games, maybe 4 games. And then got it going in year 2 and year 3, and then in year 4 before I left. And so it was a lot of fun. We had some success there, and we really enjoyed the community and the people in the community. And I would probably not have left Troy because we were really ingrained, and our kids were settled, and we loved it. I would probably not have left Troy for a lot of places. And the fact that Southern Miss was a place that called for me to come home was the reason I left. But we really enjoyed our time there. Great people, and just can't say enough good things about Troy.
Yeah, you did some great things right there. A couple of things that I read about your time at Troy. You had a big goal of improving the fan experience, and what's more important than the fan experience?
Right.
Getting everybody to enjoy their time. You did a great job there for sure. And Southern Miss took notice, man. And in 2019, you get an opportunity to come be the AD here. And how was that? Coming back to Southern Miss and being the guy.
Yeah, man, it was great. It was, and again, we were very happy at Troy. So when the phone call came, it was, there was a bit of mixed emotions, but at the end of the day, I loved Southern Miss, and my experience here had been great. I'm a Mississippi guy, and so the conversation with my wife and the kids, we knew there was some work to be done here. We knew there was a bit of a build, so to speak. Weren't quite where they wanted to be in some areas. And so I've always loved that challenge. And so I knew coming back that we would, first few years would be, we'd have some long days ahead, but that's really what kind of excited me. And so, yeah, the love for this place, the opportunity to get back to Mississippi, and, the opportunity to really make a difference. I think at the end of the day, I've always wanted to be in a place where I can have an impact. And so that's kind of how the conversation went with our family. And, we were, once we were ready to go, we were all in, and haven't looked back since.
Oh, heck no. And, just looking at your resume, where you were raised, or how hard you played baseball and well you did, you got this hard work and desire that comes with a vision. So currently at Southern Miss, there's 25 strategic initiatives in 5 categories that are going to run through 2025. I know this is a big deal to you. This is your baby, man. So time to shine some light on that and where we're headed and how things are going.
Yeah. So anybody who's interested in that, it's posted on the website. Our strategic plan is posted on the website. It was really important to me when I got here to begin to think about that. And we weren't ready the first year or so. Really, we're starting to move in that direction. Then 2 things happened that actually slowed that down a little bit for me. COVID hit, number 1. And boy, we were just, really couldn't. It was hard to think strategically for most of that year. I mean, because we were all just trying to figure out what was next, and how to play ball games, and how to stay in front of people and sell tickets and all those things, and really pay the bills. So COVID hit, and then we get into a situation in part during COVID, that conference realignment begins to start to shake out. And so those 2 things, I really kind of paused just a little bit. We did a bunch of work on our strategic plan, but we didn't want to release it until we got to a place where, all that began to shake out. And so really important to me, I wanted it to be a short-term window. And like you said, we're working towards the end of the calendar year, 2025. It's called To the Top 25 is the name of our strategic plan. We've got 25 initiatives. Some we've already been able to check off. If we one of those that, comes to mind is our objective to sell 15,000 season tickets across the board between our sports. And we hit that this year. We sold over 10,000 in football. We sold, I think about 1,100 in basketball. And we sold obviously 4,500 in baseball. So something that's never been done before. So we've checked that box off. We've got some fundraising goals. Our objective is to raise $50 million during this capital campaign, and we're at about 43 million right now. We're developing a facility master plan, which is one of the initiatives as well, to begin to give us some direction on what we do with facilities, which I think is the most pressing issue for us right now. And so really was a lot of fun to sit down and work through that and begin to think, how do we get to where we want to be? And which is one of the best programs in the country, best program in the Sun Belt, and therefore one of the best programs in the country. And so that's how it developed, and we had a lot of really, really good conversation about it. And I am excited about it. We get the chance to talk about it a lot. And so, and as you mentioned, there's academic and student athlete a portion of that. There's an external portion of that. There's a facilities piece of that. And so, all of that's important to our overall success. And so we're chipping away every day to begin to check those initiatives off the list. So I would encourage people to go take a peek at it and see what we're thinking and how we're thinking. But feel really good about heading in the right direction on that and getting an opportunity to get those things checked off the list.
Yeah, please go check that out, Southern Miss fans. That Give Wing, the $50 million goal. We're at 43. That's great to hear. And it seems like we're going to get there with your vision. And, doing what I do on social media, do this show for not a living, but as a fun hobby. I definitely get a pulse from Southern Miss fans. Two topics in particular seem to be big with facility upgrades. And I'll ask you about one of them first. And that is maybe an indoor football practice facility. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on there, and where's that maybe headed?
So that's on our. We've been working on that with our facility master plan. We've got some, some drawings, some renderings, kind of what we want to do. And I would say today that is definitely a priority for us, but it's a priority that's probably behind a couple of other things. Reed Green being number one, and some other things, including P. Taylor Park, being on that priority list too. And so. But an indoor covered facility for football is definitely a priority for us. We have begun to kind of, for us, it's about space, right? Where do we put that? How does that function? And so Coach Hall and I've been talking through some options. We've got some renderings that at the right time we'll be able to share with everyone. But yeah, it's a priority for us. And, sometimes your priorities get shifted based on what your donor response is. And so, when the time is right, we're going to kind of see how quickly we can get down the road for that indoor or covered practice facility. I think for us, the question is going to be, people say indoor, but really here in our area, it's more the covered aspect of it is the most important. Is we've seen that with South Alabama and some folks in our area who've done those kind of things. And so that's what we're exploring right now.
And you hit on the other topic I want to hit, Reed Green Coliseum. Any updates with renovations there?
Yeah, man, we're chipping away at it, working every day. It's been a very, I joked earlier that I got 10 years of experience in 3 years. I feel like that with this project. It's been, I've learned a lot. It's not been a very easy, straightforward process. And part of that is the fact that the building, is over 50 years old and infrastructure wise, there's not a lot of work been done to it. And so one of the things we have to do first is put a new roof on the building. And so we're very fortunate to get some money through the legislature last year to handle that roof. The challenge with that is then you have to navigate through the state to get the project done. And so some of the timeline begins to be out of your hands. And so, but that is going to go out to bid soon. And we anticipate by the end of the year, this fall, being able to see work being done on that roof. And so once we get the roof on it, then we begin to move to other phases and parts of that. Where our focus is right now is going to be on the front of Reed Green, the 4th Street entrance way, if you will. The building itself right now really doesn't have a front door, and we want to be able to create that. So that's a big priority for us, is being able to create our entryway that can not only look better and be more aesthetically pleasing, but can be serviceable and functional for our fans. So that's a big part of it. Restroom renovations, concession renovations are all part of that kind of lobby front door aspect. And that's it's going to be a sizable piece of the puzzle for us. We're working on new scoreboards, ribbon boards, kind of in the bowl in the seating area to begin to change the environment and experience there. And so this moving forward, you'll begin to see progress, hopefully, this calendar year. And once the roof is on, we'll begin to really push forward and start to show more progress
Yeah.
on it.
That's great to hear. Thanks for the update with that. Because the one thing about Reed Green Coliseum, man, you get that thing really even looking pretty. It's the loudest venue in America when it's packed and rocking. It is, man. I've been going deaf in there. Ears ringing,
man. It's funny you say that, because I have been, it's kind of like Pete Taylor Park. I've been very careful with the changes we make, because I don't want to lose that. Right. And so it is a very intimidating place to play when it's full, and when it's, because it is so loud. And so whatever we do is going to be with that in mind. Hey, let's don't lose that aspect of creating the right type of experience, because I definitely plan on us continuing to try to fill that thing up.
Heck yeah. And Jeremy, do some research on you. So cool interview. Kind of want to get into the day of the life with Jeremy McClain, but I read an article a while back where games and wins and losses are very important to you. Obviously, the product on the field, winning and losing. But man, that's a small portion of your job when you think about it. You're an administrator, man. You got to get your hands in a million things trying to keep this D1 program up and running and going. So maybe a tough question because there's so much, but what's a day in the life of Jeremy McClain?
Yeah. Oh goodness. Every day's different, which I think every day's a little bit different, which I think is what I enjoy about the job, honestly. Yeah, the games, the competitive aspect, that's really the fun part for me, like getting a chance to be in Auburn for the regional and see our guys compete, man. That's the joy, one of the joys, certainly. So a day in life for me, it just depends, right? And I'm usually involved in a lot of meetings, as you can imagine, and whether it be at a national level, right? So we may have NCAA calls, we may have Sun Belt calls discussing important issues. Maybe it's name, image, and likeness. Maybe it's something as simple as, what are we going to do for our basketball schedule next year? We got an issue we need to resolve at the conference level. So always, I'm in a lot of meetings, and then, facility meetings, all the way down to fundraising meetings, ticket meetings. So in my chair, you're trying to drive the ship. You're trying to give direction, but you're also, at least from my perspective as a leader, you want people to do their jobs. You want to allow them to do their jobs, whether it be your coaches, whether it be your fundraisers, whether it be your facility folks. And I think our people would say, I hope they would say, that I do allow them to do their jobs, and I'm going to support them, and I'm going to step in when I need to step in, but I allow them to do their jobs. And so for me, there's a lot of that. It's a lot of trying to provide direction, putting out fires as they come up, certainly. But it's hard to explain until you sit kind of in this seat. You just get pulled in a lot of different directions, and and I'm a person, I don't love to say no. But I do have to sometimes. You have to be careful about that. And so you can get pulled in a lot of different directions and get, if you're not careful, you can get distracted. And so I try to, again, try to focus on the leadership aspect and providing direction for our folks and allowing them to work.
Jeremy, which brings up kind of a fascinating topic for me, being an athletic director like you are. Say you're ever dealing with a sport that's not doing well. I mean, it's really not doing well at all. In those scenarios, do you let the coaches still coach? Do you ever go X's and O's with them? Or are you more kind of like a boss manager type? Or do you just kind of let the process take place? In those scenarios, what's it like being an AD?
Yeah.
And being hands-on or hands-off?
Yeah, great question. Great question. I have vowed since, I guess I've been an AD 15 years now, maybe. I have made it a priority not to ever talk X's and O's if avoidable. There's probably been a handful of times where I've asked questions in my career. I just, it's not my job, and I've hired them to do a job. And again, on occasion, I will have a very delicate conversation about, hey, why did this happen, or educate me a little bit. But I really don't. I try to stay away from that because it's not my expertise. Yeah, I've played multiple sports, but it's not my expertise. So I try not to go there. But what we will do is talk about how I can help them. And that's usually the discussion we have. Like, if we're not doing well, things aren't going great, what can I do to help you? Because I allow them to talk through what they think is not going right. And sometimes that we view that the same way, sometimes we don't. And then we begin to have a discussion about why we do or don't view that the same way and what we can do to help resolve it. Sometimes it's a deal where you can't get it resolved, but we definitely try to do everything we can to support our coaches and allow them to move through that and be successful.
I appreciate that. Getting inside the mind of Jeremy McClain when those scenarios happen. I've always been fascinated by that. But one thing I'm fascinated about is our move to the Sun Belt, Jeremy. I mean, arguably one of the biggest moves in Southern Miss athletics in history. And it's almost comedy to look back at. We had one more year left in Conference USA. And if I'd have been in Conference USA one more year as a fan, Jeremy, I'd have about lost my mind. I got to be honest, and a lot of fans would have. And Conference USA was planning on us to be there one more year. But, man, you, Marshall, Old Dominion, and James Madison said, no, let's get out of here like now, like yesterday. Walk me through that process if you don't mind. Oh,
Yeah.
no, we don't need to be in Conference USA one more year.
Yeah, that was I think an easy decision, a difficult process. And I say easy decision. I mean, we understood that if we left early, we were going to put some of our peers in Conference USA in a difficult spot, scheduling wise. And so that part wasn't easy, but we knew that it was what's best for our institution. I think, just as you expressed, I think we were in a place where we needed to move forward. We needed to make that transition as an institution and as a department. And so, we made a decision to push forward, even though we knew it might get ugly. And there was a little bit of that, and we had to work through and let our attorneys work through some legalese and come into an agreement. But if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I think it was obviously the best thing for us. And really, I think had we not done that, our progress would have been really stagnated for quite some time. And so for us to be able to go ahead and take that step, and hindsight's 2020, but it was been a great year, first year in the Sun Belt. And so I'm so thankful we got an opportunity to experience that. I need to give, Dr. Rodney Bennett credit, because when I went to him and said, hey, this is what I think we need to do, and it's probably going to cost us some money, he jumped on board and said, I think you're right. Let's get it done. And so I do need to give him credit for that and helping support us through what was a difficult time.
Yeah, but what a move. The Sun Belt's been awesome for us. I mean, real rivalries being built, Troy, South Alabama. Me personally, Louisiana guy, the Raging Cajuns, man, it's a real rival right now. I love it. But loving the Sun Belt as much as we do as a university right now, there's conference realignment, man, all the time. 3 to 5 years from now, with attrition, addition, what have you, how do you see the Sun Belt?
Yeah, great question. And I think the uniqueness about this conference right now is, and I'm not going to be naive, I realize that if some great opportunity came along for an institution, they're gonna visit that. But I think everyone really feels like all 14 members feel like we are headed in a very, very positive direction. There's some like-mindedness within the conference. Everybody's pulling for each other to be successful. And so there's a uniqueness in that I don't think is shared with a lot of our other conferences around the country. And so I think we have to be careful because we're in a really good place. Now, if institutions, if opportunities open up for the Sun Belt to add institutions that bring great value, I think the league would definitely look at that. But I also think, and Commissioner Gill has said this multiple times, we're in a really good place right now. Our membership is really strong. We're in a great spot. And so we have to be careful, if those opportunities come up, what decisions we make. And I would say the same as institutions, for Southern Miss, we're in a great spot. And so we have to be careful with what we do, what we listen to, or what decisions we make. But I do think there's going to be more movement to get back to your question. I think there's going to be some shifting and there's always some level of domino effect that happens with that. And so I don't think anyone's immune to it. And I think you asked earlier about this job and what a day in the life was like. You just kind of never know what's going to happen. I'll never forget. I get probably 1 week of vacation a year during the summer, and I was on the beach with my family when the whole Texas-Oklahoma thing began to unravel a couple of years ago, and I picked up the phone and made a couple calls and just said, hey, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm feeling. I know what's going to happen over the next 6 months. Just know that this is where we stand, and so you're always susceptible to that. I think the next 6 months, year, 18 months, we're going to continue to see some ripples from a conference realignment standpoint.
And talking college sports too, real quick, with this P5, G5 talk, it seems like the P5 is almost doing this thing where it's almost creating like this professional football feel in a way. And personally, and I know I speak for a lot of college football fans, I don't enjoy that. What I love about the Sun Belt, it feels collegiate, man. It really does. Regional rivalries, real rivalries, rivalries that make sense on a map. I mean, your take real quick on that, on this, just you still got a collegiate feel here, man, in a way.
I agree with you 100%. And I think there's value in that. And I guess that's what, what I was saying earlier. I think we have to be very careful about decisions we make, because we're uniquely positioned right now to really, this feels like, it feels like what conferences were meant to be. Right. And so I don't disagree with you that in some places, at some levels, there's this very difficult dynamic of the revenue aspect and just continuing to chase. And we're all trying to generate more revenue. And if we're going to be successful, we can't take our foot off the gas. But I don't ever want to do that at the expense of our student athletes. And I think for me, that's where the rub comes in. I do this job because I was a small town kid with very limited opportunities, and college athletics allowed me scholarship opportunity, allowed doors to be opened for me that would have never been opened otherwise. And I want that to be what happens for our student athletes. I want that to be the focus. And so what I don't want to happen is for us to lose sight of why we do this. And your point about feeling professionalized, I think that's what happens. I think we begin to feel like it's not really about the student athlete anymore. It's about whatever else we're chasing. And so that's my concern. And I'll share it that way. My concern is really about kind of what does that begin to look like? And whether it's name, image, and likeness, or pay for play, which is a lot of conversation around, student athletes becoming employees and all these big things that are being discussed. I fear for losing some of what's really important to us, which is having that positive impact on our student athletes. Now, I'm not saying both of those things can't be done. I just think it's a really, really delicate balance.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of NIL, Southern Miss has the To the Top Collective now, which is a great thing. And, that's keeping it real, keeping our players happy, keeping them, what needs to be done in this new landscape. And I've always said athletes should get paid. I mean, I've just always heard on that side. But real quick, if you don't mind bringing up To the Top Collective, and it's important in the NIL deal with Southern Miss.
Yeah, we've had a group of folks who've been very supportive and have started to the Top Collective, as you mentioned, and that's been, I think, really, really good for us over the past year or so. And really, it's kind of beginning to ramp up, beginning to take it to another level and create even more opportunities for more student athletes here on our campus. And so I think it's a critical part of our future. To your point, I think we have to be, our community has to be able to support our student athletes in a way that they need to be supported, and that things are happening in other communities. We can't ignore that either. And so I think that's a huge step in the right direction. To the Top Collective has been great. I got a website up and going, tothetopcollective.com, and would encourage folks to go check that out and ask how you can get involved if that's something that's important to you. And I do think it's something that's going to be critical to our future. And so we want to continue to try to educate our folks and create opportunities for our student athletes.
No, yeah, great way to put it. To the Top Collective, people. It's very important for our programs, so go check it out as soon as you can. Real quick, this show is going on Tuesday when we're going to release this right after the Super Regional. So I don't want to talk win or loss, even though I know we've won. But I do want to talk baseball real quick, because this has become a special program. What has it meant to you, us hosting back-to-back Super Regionals, beating SEC teams and regionals prior to that back-to-back years, man? What does this baseball program mean to you and everything it's done right now?
Man, it's been special. And part of that goes back to Scott. We talked about it at the beginning. He's just a special guy. And he has really created. He's built upon a great foundation. Pete Taylor, Hill Denson, Corky Palmer, but Scott's really taken it and elevated that even more. To your point, to host back-to-back Super Regionals, that's pretty rare air. That's there's not a lot of programs that get an opportunity to do that. And, so for us, I think, I understand that baseball is really important to this community, to this campus, to the state of Mississippi. And so we want to continue to try to invest in that. And it's why, the process of hiring Christian, that's why it happened the way it did. there's a plan to continue, to elevate our program and try to resource it in a way that we can be successful. Because we're one of 16 teams, we get to the Super Regional, you're one of 16 teams still standing 2 years in a row. So we want to call it Sweet 16. Sweet 16, 2 years in a row. And so what I would like to see, begin to happen is us quit using the term Power Five, because I don't think it holds water, right? So Power Five, Group of Five does not, especially in baseball. And so baseball, we've got this unique opportunity to compete at a national level in a way that in some sports, the process has almost made that impossible. Now, I'm excited about where we're heading in football from a standpoint of at the national level, we're creating a football playoff. We now have a path to get into that playoff and to actually compete on the field, which is why I think baseball has been so unique and beneficial for us, because we get a chance to compete on the field. And if you get a chance to do that, man, anything can happen. And so for us, I think baseball is important for a lot of reasons, man. But I think it gives us a unique opportunity to compete at a national level and compete for a national championship. So we're going to continue to invest in it. We're going to continue to support it. I know our community is going to continue to support it. And, it's just, I want, Coach Berry has taken us to this level. And our objective is to continue to build on that and just be a team and a program that every year when the postseason rolls around, we're going to be in the mix. And if we continue to be in the mix, then we've got a chance to win a national championship.
Well, great way to put it, man. Baseball's been so much fun. Just what a special program we got right here. And I want to bring up a quick topic with football. P5 opponents at the Rock. We got Mississippi State coming in with a home and home, which is super cool. You got a home and home with an SEC school. How important is for you to get maybe a P5 opponent at the Rock?
Yeah, that's great, man. It's we're going to do that anytime we get a chance, and sometimes it makes the schedule look a little differently. It's like this year we got two, quote unquote Power Fives on the schedule, and so that creates some challenges. But we don't ever want to miss that opportunity. I think to the impact it has on our program, to sell out a stadium, to the impact it has economically for the community, for our campus. Man, it goes so far beyond just playing the game. And so we're never going to miss those opportunities, and we're always searching for them. Sometimes hard to find, right? Yeah, there's not a lot of folks, and whether it be in the SEC or the ACC, who want to come to Hattiesburg, but we're going to continue to ask the question and try to find our opportunities. So yeah, we've got, and I give Mississippi State a ton of credit for being willing to do that. I think it's great for the state of Mississippi. And we've got them on the schedule, I think 4 more times over the course of the next 10 years or so. And so we're going to try to continue to find more opportunities because I do think, especially as we think about, the playoff and the opportunity to get into the playoffs, I think the scheduling aspect becomes even more important. Obviously, you have to win the conference championship. If you're in our league, you're gonna need to win the conference championship. But I think being prepared and playing teams that are going to help prepare you for that playoff doesn't need to be overlooked.
Oh, man, great way to put that. And real quick, this is a kind of a personal question for you. I think from the big 3 sports, we've got 3 special and unique places to play with the Rock, Pete Taylor Park, and Reed Green Coliseum in their own special ways. So for you personally, the Rock, what makes that so special and unique, would you say?
Hey, I think for me and you as a player, I think you would agree with this. Man, there's not many places that we go around the country where people are on top of you the way you are in this place. And so when it's crowded, when it's packed, and you're on the visiting sideline or even on the home sideline, it is a unique experience because people are right on top of you, and it just kind of feels like we talked about Reed Green being loud earlier, and this place, this football stadium. When we can fill up the Rock, and we're going to continue to work to do that. When we have great crowds, man, it is an unbelievable experience, and it can be a really, really intimidating place to play. And that's what we want. We want people to come in here. We're going to try to treat them the right way, but we want to create an environment where they don't get to take a deep breath, where they feel like they're always being pushed and challenged, and it's just not a comfortable place to play.
And you kind of hit on Reed Green right there. Would you say it's the loudness of it? Because I mean, man, that place is loud.
Yeah, I think both of them. I think Reed Green and the Rock, man, we go a lot of places, and I just don't, a stadium our size, I think is one of the loudest places I've seen to play when it's filled up.
And Pete Taylor Park, I mean, we know it's magical. That's a real thing. What would you say makes Pete Taylor Park so unique?
I think it's the uniqueness of a couple things. I think the roost and the ability for people to move around and their social aspect of what they're doing. I think that's so unique. And again, we talked about improvements to Pete Taylor Park. We're trying to make sure we don't lose any of that uniqueness. But I think the thing about baseball for us is our fans know baseball. And so they know when to get into it. They know when to cheer, man. They know how to do their part. And so when you talk about it being special, get late in the game, big moments, our fans they're going to be on their feet. They're going to be getting after it. And you don't always find that at baseball stadiums and around the college landscape. And so I think that's unique for us.
Awesome takes right there. And Jeremy, we're kind of starting to wrap things up soon enough here. We hope you're the AD here forever, man. And that's my plan. That's a lot of fans' plans. We got you forever, man. But however long the run is for you at Southern Miss, looking back on the run you would have had at Southern Miss, what would you consider a successful career for you?
Ooh, man, great question. I don't know that I ever stopped long enough to really think about that. So, I think for me, I mean, this is a really, I think maybe hope not a cop out. It's a simple way to look at it. I want when I walk away, and I said this in my press conference when I came back to take the job, and I think about it every day. I want our folks to be proud. Okay, I want there to be this great, and there already is a sense of pride amongst our fan base, but I want them to be proud of their teams. I want them to be proud of their athletic department. I want them to stick out their chest. I want them to, be able to go to work with their SEC coworkers and be able to say, here's what we're doing at Southern Miss. And that could come in a lot of different ways. So for me, though, it's really about, I think, leaving a legacy where, hey, we're competing at a highest level we can possibly compete at. We've squeezed every bit of resource and ability out of what we're doing, and we're making our people proud. And so for me, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
No, that's a great way to put it. One of my favorite things about Southern Miss, we do more with less, and we always have, baby. We always have. Jeremy, real quick, man, absolutely beautiful family you have. Any updates on the family life, things going on over there?
Yeah, man, we're great. Kids are growing up too quickly, but other than that, it's been great. My oldest is just graduated high school. He is had an opportunity. He's got an opportunity to go to Delta State and play football. So really excited for him there. He's going back to my wife and I both graduated from Delta State. So excited about that journey. I'm not sure, if he's ready for fall camp yet and what that brings, but I've tried to prepare him the best I can. And so it'll be a fun journey for him, though. He's going to be challenged in a lot of ways. So I'm excited about that. And my girls are 15 and 11, and they're dancing and playing volleyball and doing all the fun stuff and keeping us busy. But man, we're really, really blessed. And I don't ever take that for granted. We're very fortunate. And the thing about my family that I want to give them credit is, and my wife's the ringleader. They're all in, man. They're you'll see them there cheering and being into the games. And this is not a job for me. It's not a job for them. This is life, and this is who we are. And so they know that it's all they've ever known. And since they've been in this world, and one day when I stop doing it, I'm not sure they'll know what to do with themselves, because it's been life for them, and they embrace it wholeheartedly, and they love Southern Miss.
Jeremy, great family updates right there. And just real quick before we get to an end right here, any closing comments from our leader, Jeremy McClain, for the Southern Miss Nation?
Yeah, man, I want to spend just a minute talking about where I think we are right now and where we're headed. The Sun Belt, it's been a great year. I've said that several times. Year one's been fantastic. I think we're headed in a positive direction and going to continue to elevate our program. I think the league is going to allow us to continue to elevate our program at a national level, and vice versa. I think we're going to be a leader in this conference, and we take great pride in that. And so that's going to be really important to us. And I just think we've got on campus, we've got a great sense of alignment right now, from the presidential seat all the way down to our coaches and our fans. Dr. Joe Paul been here, a short period of time, but has already made an impact on campus in the community. He's very supportive of athletics, I think, as everyone knows. And so he's been great to work with. I think he understands how important our success is to the overall success of the institution. And we have that conversation a lot. And so there's great alignment. We've got a great group of coaches who are good people and are trying to do things the right way. And again, trying to make folks proud. And so I just say all that to say there's a reason to be excited. And I want our folks to be excited about what's happening. And I think the next few years are going to be a whole lot of fun. And so if you're not already a part of it, or if you're kind of sitting on the fence and you're just dipping your toe in the water every once in a while, come on and jump in the water with us. It's going to be a lot of fun over the next few years. And we're going to need everybody to you'll be pulling the rope in the same direction. So come be a part of it.
Oh, yeah, it's a special vibe going on right now. I've said it on social media, said it to so many friends and family that it feels like 80s Eagle fever is kicking in all over again. I just really do. Well, Jeremy, from being a diehard Southern Miss fan, a guy who bleeds black and gold, I can't thank you for the job you're doing. You're doing an amazing job. I speak for a lot of people right there. And thank you for your time today. And I think a great way to close it would be Jeremy McClain and me giving everybody a Southern Miss.
Hey, I want to, before you do that, all right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go off script. I want to take this opportunity to say to you how much I appreciate you as a former player, staying engaged, being involved, being on social media, being positive, being a part of being part of the answer, right? And so, man, it means more to me and to our folks than you can imagine. And so I just want to say thank you to you, man. I appreciate what you're doing.
No, it means the world to me, man. I wasn't going to cry today, Jeremy. I mean, Joe Paul almost had me crying not too long. Why you got to do that to me, man? Yeah, I bleed black and gold, man. Thank you enough. That means the world to me. So you can cut off a Southern Miss to the top anytime with good comments like that. I appreciate it. So, but I guess we'll close this show, man, from our leader, Southern Miss
to the top.
To the top. Thanks, Jeremy. Catch up soon. Until you see you again in Hattiesburg, man.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes. Well, it was great catching up with our athletic director, Jeremy McClain, right there. And I'm super proud of the job that he's done during his tenure and look for a lot more great things to happen for Southern Miss in the future. That's it for another edition of Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime. And I can't thank you enough for the support. And we are still on a push for 1,000+ subscribers on YouTube. So I'm going to ask you once again to do something that's absolutely free and easy to do. It'll take a second out of your day. And that's to head to our YouTube page, Anyone, Anywhere, Anytime. Click the subscribe button and you can get right back to your day. Well, until next time, as always, it's Southern Miss to the top.